Cambuskenneth Abbey, doing a little bit of filming because we've got some footage we want to put in our Scottish History playlist, and I just needed a bit more information on the background to the Abbey. So I thought I'd come and film, and then I thought, well, anybody wants to come with me virtually, I'll go live. So here we are. This is what's left of Cambuskenneth Abbey, and it is a beautiful, beautiful setting. There's the Ochils there, and it faces, you can't see it through the trees, but Stirling Castle is through those trees. Okay, it should be open. Let's negotiate our way up this field. That is the bell tower that we're looking at, the only bit of the Abbey that's still standing. And hopefully it's open, we'll be able to get inside. I've been in it before, and I have to say it's an incredibly creepy place. There's a real sort of spine-tingling atmosphere. I don't normally react to buildings like that, but that one I really did. So let's see if that happens again this time. Now, April to September is open. So, hello, I see someone's just joined us on the live stream. Welcome, Cambuskenneth Abbey. That's where we are today, just doing a bit of filming, having a look at the grounds, and then we will put it together as a show for our Scottish History playlist. This is like the start of every horror movie you've ever seen, isn't it? Now, I'm going to go around more or less in the order I come to it, so remarkable. Oh, is that a saltire design on the pillars there? Very, very old and weathered, obviously. You can't get in there that bit, that's gravestones. Obviously be. There is a diagram of the Abbey. I'll see if we can locate where the various doors are. Ooh, it is open. Let's go in the bell tower. Now, anyone familiar with Scottish independence, the Wars of Independence? It is reputed that Wallace's arm is here. I know where it's supposed to be. Whether it is there or not, I don't know, but we'll have a look at that as well. This is the bell tower. Very, very impressive structure, actually beautiful stonework. Go dark for a bit. This is built in 11 something. We'll find out exactly the date in a minute. Which in itself always just makes my spine tingle, the idea of being here. Now these big stones are the remains of one of the kings who's buried here, his tomb. This was the original stone which was broken and then replaced by Queen Victoria. So we'll go and see that as well at some point. I'm going to say one of the Jameses, but we'll look it up properly. Now, I imagine in this bell tower you'd have had a lot of monks sitting on this stone bench. 1,000 years of bombs on the bench. And look at the ceiling. you can go up, and there's a floor above there, which is where the bell ringers would have been, but you can't go up there just by yourself. The only, but they do open days, I believe. I'll just have a wee peek in here as well. I think this is. We can't get in here, but we can. It's like an 11th century cupboard. Okay, so again, that fabulous roof, lovely brickwork, and just it is atmospheric. You know, it does make the hairs on your back of your neck tingle, and it's very echoey. Let's see what else we can find. Oh, back into the sunshine. Now, this is the main bit of the church, I suppose. Oh, there's an info board. I like those. Look at that view. And just over those houses, or just behind that chimney, I'll get a better shot of it, is the Wallace Monument. So this landscape has obviously been central to a lot of our history. And it's on a very special place in the river. So, here we go. Oh. Tripping over rocks there. Right, so Cambuskenneth Abbey. This is what's left. We'll see if we can identify the bits. Most of what survives dates from the 1200s. The bell tower was always freestanding, which is the place we've just been in, the bell tower. Its finest bell is said to have been lost while being transported across the Forth. Well, isn't that typical of a lot of our own history? Now, this abbey was an economic powerhouse with extensive property holdings across the country. It owned fishing rights and controlled the salt-making industry on the River Forth. This lucrative combination enabled Cambuskenneth to sell preserved fish, some of which was destined for foreign markets. Well, preserved fish is still one of our main exports, but salt was, until, would you believe it, Westminster changed the tax laws on salt and flooded our market with cheap English salt. Salt was one of Scotland's, I think it was the third biggest export till about 18 something, and there's a lot of salt panning infrastructure still around, which we'll maybe have a look at some point. Right, so this building at the very end, we'll start there. I think that is the refectory. This that I'm walking in is probably a cloister, maybe. This is a refectory, so this is where everybody would have ate. The dining hall, can imagine. I can just picture a big great long wooden table in that square with monks all dining together. This is the site of the lavatory. The canons washed their hands here before entering the refectory. Well, that's good to know. The main eating hall. Beautiful old trees here. Now this is the chapter house. So it's the main meeting room where business was discussed and sins confessed. It took its name from a daily reading of a chapter of the monastic rule. So 1,000 years ago, 900 years ago, people would have been confessing their sins in this space. I could probably confess a few of my own, but I'll save that for my memoirs. More information here, and then I'm going to go and look over that back fence because there's something quite interesting there that I want to see. Slipe or slip. This is a passage between the cloister and the outer precinct of the abbey. Probably also served as a parlour where essential conversation was allowed. So you can kind of imagine it would be pretty quiet. But you could stand in this little corridor and have a chat. Now, I'm just going to go to the fence at the back, because that out there is the River Forth. The name Cambuskenneth, Cambus means bend in the river, and this is a really special part of the River Forth because it bends, it's got river on three sides, so it's a perfect place for a significant building. That's part of it. I don't know if we can get in here. Unstable riverbank. Right, we'll be careful about that. I just want to go and have a wee look, because apparently across this bit of the river is a ford, and this was the path that the abbots Robert the Bruce, Mary Queen of Scots, any visiting dignitaries would have come from the back, not from the front. And if you can see over the river there, there's a dilapidated farmhouse over there. That's just beside Springhurst in Stirling. And so it's roughly between these two points. There's a sort of stony crossing. Apparently you can't get across it now because the Stevenson brothers of lighthouse fame blew a hole in it when they were building a lighthouse so that they could get further up the river on a boat. But I actually think I can see, it's a tidal stretch, and I fancy I can see kind of shallow stones, but see if we can get a bit closer. This, not sure what that is. See what the sign says. Right, this area of the monument is now closed, but what is it? It's closed because of the danger of falling masonry. Okay. Still seeing it. Don't see any information as to what it is, but we'll be around the other side. It's just the most beautiful scenery, this. If you were going to put a place of worship like an abbey, this is exactly where you put it. There's the Wallace Monument up there. River on three sides, view to the hills on all sides. Sparkling River Forth, which was apparently deeper back in the day, so it would have been maybe a metre or two higher on both sides. So it might have come further up this field. I'm not going to go as far as the dangerous riverbank because whilst that might make an exciting bit of film, I don't really want to fall in. Yeah, you can see sparkling on the water. It's quite a fast flowing river. And all the way along Wallace's Monument. This is this building from the front. information as to what it is, so I shall research it when I get home. So today it's merely about getting some footage so we can put something together that's a bit more informative. Right, let's go and see the other side of the ruins and have a look at the reputed location of Wallace's arm. Now, if you know the story of Wallace, and I'd like to think if you're watching our channel you do, after his execution by a foreign power and his horrific death, he was quartered and parts of him were sent to 4 parts of the kingdom of Scotland as a reminder not to try it again, really. And apparently one of his arms was nailed to somewhere in Stirling, but the monks, or the abbot at the time, was sympathetic to the cause. So the monks rescued the arm and buried it secretly in the abbey. Now the William Wallace Society, if you have a look at their website, they will give you all the information on that much better than I've just explained it. I'm going to look at the actual bit. Oh, beautiful copper beach there. Gorgeous trees. Right. It's hard to get an idea of the size of the place when all that's left is stone, but based on the pictures on the info board, it has been quite a size. What a glorious day, look at that sky. Somebody walking their dog across it. Right, let's see what some more of these lumps and bumps are. This is a sacristy. All these buildings come off that central square there. So we've got the refectory over there, the chapter house there. This is the sacristy, which is the room where vessels and vestments used in service were stored. So a bit like a cupboard for all the whatever they required. This is an interesting kind of little path up here to just a square stone. No explanation as to what that is. See if we can find out from the info board. There's a bird flapping up in that tree. Ah. Right, this is the south transept, a cross arm with chapels on its east side. So east is that way, so that could be the chapels, the thing that we were just at. This southeast processional doorway led from the cloister into the church. I'm just going to see what that big square thing was. That was the cloister. Oh, there's quite a substantial stones. I'm just kicking myself because I didn't bring a yes stone with me. I could have left one here. Right, the cloister. This is the square open area, I thought that, yeah, around which the main buildings were grouped, surrounded by covered walks. So what I'm on now would have been a covered walk. It's a oh, excuse me, hay fever. So you can see this sort of strange round doorway. So this would have been a covered walk down to the food hall. I'm getting that shivery feeling again, that sort of, you feel you're walking in the footsteps from thousands and thousands of, well, 1,000 years ago. Look at this, the southwest processional doorway into the church. And it's a beautiful, smooth, round. They could only have come in one by one. It's very narrow. Perhaps that was defensive. And this is, I think those probably would have been pillar columns that supported pillars. Have a wee look again on this painful board. It's hard to match that up. I don't know if that helps. That's an artist's impression from the 1400s to typical Abbey, but I don't know which way it's facing. Right, let's carry on. This is the nave we're standing in. That's the western limb of the church. So we've come in the processional door. The pulpitum, the stone screen separating the canon's choir from the rest of the nave. There were altars in front of it. So, oh, if I really let my imagination run riot, I think I can hear singing. Right, this is the south wall of the nave. These are divided into bays by triplets of wall shafts, of which the bases remain. So these are the bases that remain from the wall shafts. So this is, again, another little storage place. And through here, behind the altar, I wish I knew more about churches, I have to say. Don't we know what most of these terms mean? The north aisle of the nave, a processional space, perhaps containing extra altars. It was probably a later addition to the church, so it was, again, procession. People would have been walking up and down here. Big bit of stone here. And it's beautifully made. It's lovely smooth stone. You could just, and imagine in that setting, you know, with the hills and the river on three sides, and all you can hear is the birds and the singing. You know, if they were saying prayers or anything, it would just echo out over the landscape. Excuse me sniffing, it's the pollen. Right, now, the story of a royal murder. James III was buried here after the Battle of Sochieburn. This is the tomb. And that was the, you can see a body-shaped stone there. The 11th of June 1488, James III's army was defeated 3 miles south of here by a rebel force. Sounds very Star Wars. Including his 15-year-old son. The king had alienated many nobles during his turbulent reign. Days after his coronation, James IV attended his father's burial close to this spot. As penance thereafter, he wore an iron chain around his waist. Rumours about James III's death soon spread. Had he been stabbed by an assassin disguised as a priest? Was he killed after being thrown from his horse? The new regime tried to distance itself from the king's murder. It blamed violent, obscure persons and offered a reward for their identity. Henry Arnott, Cambuskenneth Abbey, was a staunch supporter of James IV. This is a picture of how they imagine the funeral would have been. Now, the dead king was buried by the high altar alongside his wife Margaret of Denmark. It was their marriage that ultimately led to Orkney and Shetland coming under Scottish rule. Chaplains were paid to sing masses for them until the Protestant Reformation of 1560. Victorian excavators found 2 coffins under a stone slab, which I think is the one that we saw in the chapel, the broken slab, that they believe contained the remains of the royal couple. In 1865, Queen Victoria paid for the new tomb that was positioned where the high altar once stood. And inside the coffin was the skeleton, doubtless of King James III. On being exposed to air, most of the bones crumbled to dust. Right, we'll see if I can get a better view of this through the bars. It's very well protected. So, let my phone through without dropping it. There we go. There is an inscription on it. I'll see if I can read it. Hold on. It's quite creepy, that little stone. Oh, I can imagine somebody in there. Right, that says, this restoration of the tomb of her ancestors was executed by command of Her Majesty Queen Victoria, 1865. So, and it's got a cross on the top, a Celtic cross on the top, which you can't see very well. So there we go, a murder mystery. Now, more buildings, nothing to tell us what they are. Another big stone, I don't know, pillar or something. Hopefully I'll get some information on what these things are when I get back and look in my book. But for the moment, it's a weird kind of corner-shaped bit. Now, there's the Wallace Monument up there, and Wallace's remains are said to be, I see it, there's a stone. I'm just going to climb over the wall. Here we go. This long stone here. Again, it lines up with the Wallace Monument, which has just disappeared behind that hedge. There's the top of it. It lines up there. And reputedly, on the end is carved WW, but I can see what might be a W. But as I said, the William Wallace Society have got all the information about this on their website. I'll end up making a film of this. I'll include the link. So, just to give you the lie of where this is. It's just a long, thin stone right on the very edge. Right, so that's us back round to the magnificent bell tower. It's actually so big I can't get it all in the shot. I'll walk around here to see if there's any more plaques. This is more great big. This is the outside now. If that was a window maybe, or a door. These are pillars for columns, I expect. So it's a freestanding bell tower, which is what's unusual. Yeah. Not sure what that is on the top. I'm getting, I don't know, can't see what it is. So we'll just go back to the info board, see if there's anything else that's worth keeping hold of. 75. Doesn't look that old. So that's James's tomb, looking from through what would have been inside the church. That's a respect for the memory of Catherine Campbell, spouse of James Walker, 1849. Oh, William Stewart, one of my ancestors is called that. Probably not the same one. So, another look at the, now we've been round all the stone, see if this makes any more sense. I can't honestly say it does. That thing by that we saw down by the river was a guest house, the ruins of a guest house. So the finest bell will have been lost while being transported across the Forth, probably at that crossing point we looked at. So there must be deeper bits as well. And it is tidal. So there we go. That is Cambuskenneth Abbey. A very, very quick tour by somebody who obviously needs to go and look up a lot more information about it. So if you were watching this live stream, thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed it. And at some point, hopefully there will be a proper, nicely edited film that gives a bit better information. But for now, enjoy the rest of your day and thanks for joining us. Bye now.